Every once in a while, something drops in the tech world that isn't just an update, it's a shockwave. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. Google released a tool so ambitious, it's promising to completely rewrite the rules for how we build software. But the real question is this a true revolution, or is it a risk we're just not ready for?
So, on November 18th, 2025, the developer community just exploded. Google didn't just release a new product, they launched Antigravity. And honestly, this quote from Ufuk Osen says it all. It felt like a nuke. The message from Google was loud and clear. The way you've been coding is about to become ancient history. This wasn't just another tool, it was Google drawing a line in the sand.
So what's all the hype about? Well, it comes down to a massive shift in thinking. See, anti-gravity isn't about helping you type code faster. No. It's about you becoming the project manager. And your team? Well, your team is a bunch of autonomous AI agents who do all the heavy lifting for you.
And this is the core idea they're selling, the agentic IDE. Look, we've all gotten used to AI copilots that suggest the next line of code, right? That's old news. Antigravity is different. It's about deploying these agents that can take a simple goal. I mean, something like build me a snake game. And then they go off and plan the whole thing, write all the code, and even test it themselves. It's the difference between having a GPS that gives you directions and having a self-driving car that just takes you there.
Okay, so let's get into the promise, because what Google showed off feels like it's straight out of science fiction. This is where the hype train really left the station, showcasing things that just a year ago you would have said were completely impossible.
The whole thing is built around 3 killer features. First up is the Agent Manager. Think of it like your own mission control. You can literally launch 5 different agents to tackle 5 different problems all at the same time. You just became 5 times more productive. Then there's full control. These agents aren't sandboxed. They can get into your editor, run commands in your terminal, and even use a built-in browser to see if the button they just coded actually looks right on the web page. And finally, artifacts. This is so important for trust. The AI gives you verifiable proof of what it did, plans, screenshots, and get this, even video recordings of itself testing its own code. You can literally watch the playback.
And this quote just perfectly captures the raw power here. A developer, Fabian Frank Werner, wanted to really push it. He'd spent ages and a ton of money trying to get another top-tier AI to build a simple game, and it just kept failing. So he gave Antigravity the exact same prompt.
And this is the part that'll blow your mind. It didn't just code the game logic. The agent realized that a game needs art, so it just went ahead and generated all the images, the fish, the little food pellets, the background, all from scratch, and then plugged them right into the game. It understood an unwritten rule. That's not just coding. That's a whole new level of problem solving.
All right, so that's the dream. But here's where the story takes a very sharp turn. Because for all of its futuristic power, the day-to-day experience of actually using antigravity, well, let's just say the sleek promise ran headfirst into a very clunky, buggy reality.
So let's ask the question that really matters to anyone who actually needs to get work done, right? What's it really like to use this thing every single day? Because a super powerful tool that you can't rely on isn't really that powerful.
Early users almost immediately hit a brick wall. On the left, you see the promise, and on the right, the painful reality. I mean, we're talking about basic stuff here. The arrow keys literally didn't work in the File Explorer. The app was draining batteries and causing serious lag when you were just trying to type. Popular extensions that developers rely on were completely broken. And my personal favorite, people reported that the Review Changes button would just close itself when you clicked it. You can't make this stuff up.
But now we're going to move on from annoying bugs to something much more serious. We're talking about a major security crisis. Because within just 24 hours of launch, security researchers at a firm called MindGuard found something absolutely alarming. They found a flaw, a really bad one. An attacker could trick a developer into opening a malicious project, and that project could install a permanent backdoor on their computer. And once that's there, the attacker can basically run any code they want. It's a total takeover.
And the way this exploit works is terrifyingly simple. Just look at these 3 steps. A developer opens a project. They send any chat message at all to the AI. Literally just typing hi is enough. And that's it. Game over. A permanent backdoor is installed that runs malicious code every single time they start the app.
So just how bad is this? Well, it's about as bad as it gets. The backdoor survives a full uninstall and reinstall of the app. Think about that. It completely bypasses all the security settings, even if you lock it down, and the user never gets a warning, never gets a prompt for approval. It just happens, silently. Okay, and now we get to the part of the story that might be even more shocking than the vulnerability itself. When the researchers responsibly reported this to Google, they eventually got a response back.
And that response was, won't fix intended behavior.
This timeline just lays out how controversial this whole thing became. Look at this. The flaw is found and reported on day 1. 2 days later, Google just dismisses it. It was only after MindGuard went public with their findings that Google quietly updated their known issues page. A lot of people saw that as Google trying to cover themselves after the fact instead of just admitting how severe the issue was.
So this whole mess, the incredible power, the frustrating bugs, the huge security flaw, it forces us to kind of zoom out and ask a much bigger question. As we start handing over more and more of our actual work to AI, what's the cognitive cost? I mean, what happens to our own brains when we start outsourcing the act of thinking itself?
Well, it turns out a recent study from MIT gives us a pretty chilling scientific look at the answer. Researchers there ran an experiment to measure what actually happens inside our brains when we rely on AI to help us write and create.
And the results were just staggering. They found this thing they called cognitive forgetfulness. Look at this chart. 83% of the people using AI couldn't recall the details of sentences they had literally just written minutes before. Compare that to the group who wrote without AI, only 11% forgot. The message is pretty clear. When our brains don't do the work of forming the thought, we don't form the memory. We just become messengers for the machine's ideas. The MIT team actually coined a term for this phenomenon, cognitive debt. It's this idea that every time we reach for AI for that quick, easy convenience, we're basically taking out a loan against our future cognitive abilities, our own memory, our critical thinking skills.
But it's not all doom and gloom. The study also pointed toward a better way to work with these tools. They found that if you did the hard work yourself first, if you wrote the first draft and really thought through the problem, and then used AI as a tool to help you refine it, your brain activity actually increased. It suggests the right way to think about AI is as a partner for refinement, not a replacement for thinking.
And that really brings us to the final, critical question. Tools like Antigravity are incredibly powerful. They are, without a doubt, the future. But they're forcing us all to make a choice. As AI becomes less of a tool and more of a partner, we have to decide what parts of our own thinking are we actually willing to trade away for an easier life. And that's a question none of us have an easy answer to.